You know, in my inequality book, and when Ayn Rand discusses egalitarianism and Leonard Peikoff discusses egalitarianism in DIM, one of the things we describe is the egalitarianism's drive not to achieve anything, not to produce anything, not to create anything, but to destroy for the sake of destruction. Egalitarianism is much worse in this sense than Marxism ever was. Marxism pretended, at least, that there was some ideal to be strived towards, some utopia that would be achieved. The egalitarianism of Pol Pot, the egalitarianism of modern times, of the modern left, is far worse than that. There is nothing to achieve. There is no point in the sacrifice. The sacrifice is an end in itself. The pain is an end in itself. And the sacrifice is focused and oriented towards anybody who has ability, anybody who has competency, anybody who has made something of themselves. They are the enemy of the egalitarian. Anybody who's born and then expresses talent and skill is the enemy. Because egalitarians want us all to be the same, not just in money, not just in material outcome, but the same. The same level of intelligence, the same level of ability in everything that we do. I mean, the best example of this we describe in the book. Oh, I've got it right here. This book, Equal is Unfair, with Don Watkins. There it is, Don Watkins. You should buy it. We describe the Khmer Rouge here. You can also read Harrison Bergeron, the short story, Harrison Bergeron, which is excellent on this point. They just want to tear you down if you have any kind of ability. The Khmer Rouge did this by killing anybody who had a high school degree, by shooting anybody who wore glasses, who could read books. Kurt Vonnegut, Harrison Bergeron. That's the story, the short story, very good short story. Not everything Kurt Vonnegut wrote was good. I read a lot of his stuff when I was young, but this one is excellent. And he makes this point. And the Khmer Rouge did it. They killed 40% of their population in the name of equality. Or maybe we should use the modern term, in the name of equity. In the name of equity, Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge killed 40% of their own population. Now, the American left is not quite there yet. We're not shooting people of ability in the streets yet. They're much more sophisticated than that. They're much more scheming than that. And they have a long-term plan to achieve what Pol Pot wanted to achieve without the violence. Oh, that's not right. Without the explicit violence. Without the bloodshed. Violence, but no bloodshed. And the way to do this is to destroy children's brains when they're young. Everybody's brains, as we'll see, but in particular, the children of ability. What we're seeing today in American schools is a concerted effort. Now, it's been going on for a long time. Leonard Peikoff talked about this on Why Johnny Can't Think in the talk that he gave, which I highly recommend. Ayn Rand talked about this in the Compachicos, one of her most powerful essays, maybe the most powerful. But it's only getting worse. So today, there is a concerted effort to rein in our best students, to cancel their unfair, quote, unfair advantages, to eliminate, for example, test-based admissions to magnet schools. Don't give the best students the opportunities to go to the best schools. Doing away with advanced classes. Who needs advanced calculus? Who needs AP courses? They don't need it. We're putting in place in American schools today a system that does not reward achievement, indeed penalizes achievement, that does not differentiate ability, because we believe that differentiating ability produces gaps between students. No, wait a minute, the gaps are first. Which views any expression of ability, any expression of being better, getting higher grades, as an inequity, as an achievement gap, equivalent to a wealth gap, equivalent to a gender pay gap, caused by systemic racism. The solution to some students doing better than others, which is inequality and inequity and a sign of systemic something, instead of some students doing better than others, we have to make all students do the same. Now, how do you do that? Do you raise the poor students up? Well, we'll get to that. God forbid you do that. No, the primary way of doing it is by knocking the best students down, 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 down. Boston, for example, is upending admission at its competitive high schools. Activists and officials in New York want to do the same in the historic Stuyvesant High School. I can't pronounce it, sorry. By the way, all of this is coming from an essay, excellent essay, by a guy named Maxwell Meyer, who writes for Pirate Wires. Pirate Wires, another Substack that I highly, highly recommend. Pirate Wires, written by people in Silicon Valley. This is Maxwell Meyer, M-E-Y-E-R. The school, by the way, in New York, has been accused of being, quote, too Asian, and therefore needs to be restructured to have fewer Asians and fewer people who score high on tests. In San Francisco, the school board, one school board member, Allison Collins, says the very idea of merit is white supremacist. The city has totally eliminated algebra from middle school curriculum. And a few years ago, this is a few years ago, because not everybody was ready for it. Some people are ready for it, some kids are ready for it, but not everybody's ready for it, so nobody gets it. That's equity for you. Vancouver, just in case you thought this was only in America. Vancouver, which is a 40% Asian city. Did you know that Vancouver is almost majority Asian? All honors courses are being terminated in the name of equity. No honors courses. The Dalton School in Manhattan, teachers have demanded that advanced courses be abolished unless they achieve complete racial equity in enrollment and results. So yeah, having AP courses, having advanced placement courses is racism. Dalton, by the way, is a place that parents pay tens of thousands of dollars to send their kids to. Now, much of this right now, again, this is a long-term trend, is being pioneered and pushed by a professor of mathematics education at the Stanford, it always the top schools, Graduate School of Education. Her name is Jo Boaler. To quote her, she says, mathematics teaching and learning, in particular, how different teaching approaches impact students' learning, how to teach mathematics for a growth mindset, and how equity is promoted in mathematics classrooms. That's her focus. So what does she suggest? Eliminate or substantially reduce tracking in math. Don't track students. Don't sort students into classes based on ability and performance. She wants to adopt heterogeneous classes in which students of varying abilities are taught together so that the class is taught to the lowest common denominator. This is known to be bad and a failure. By the way, we're still about $100 short of $400, never mind $300 short of $600. So we're only halfway to the $600. So Allie is kind of upset. She's crying over there. Don't do this to Ali. We've got a lot of people in the super chat. There's got to be some people who can ask some questions at $20 a pop to get us to our desired goal. Yesterday, we reached it very quickly. Today is a little slower, but I know that there are enough of you out there that can get us to where we need to go. Let's see. Second, that was eliminate substantially reduced tracking in math. So heterogeneous classes, no sorting. Second, discredit the idea of gifted students and natural mathematical ability and eliminate substantially reduced special programs for gifted students. So there's no such thing as gifted students. All students are capable of everything in math. Nobody has particular talent or skill. We need to get rid of special education. We don't want any more Newtons or Einsteins. They don't really exist anyway. They're just, so we want to make sure that we topple down, that we hammer down, that we chop off the tall poppies, that we reduce, sacrifice the most able. The people that actually move civilization forward, thank you, Luke. That's very generous. Really appreciate that. The people who can really move civilization forward, the people who can really have an impact on all of our lives, the people who change the world, those are the people we want to penalize. Those are the people we don't want to have special education classes. The fact is, we all rest on the shoulders of giants. We all stand on the shoulders of giants. And those giants were gifted. But no, we need to suppress the giants. We need to make sure that they don't graduate out of school with the idea that they are special. Ragnar, thank you. Really appreciate the support. And third, we need to reduce standardized testing and traditional methods of measurement performance in favor of measuring mindset. Mindset, your attitude. Now, this is a woman who's one of the most cited educational researchers in the country. She's published many influential books. She started nonprofit organizations. And she's actually the co-author of a K-12 mathematics education framework in California. Luckily, the framework's been rejected because it's so nutty. She says a fundamental aim of this framework, her framework, is to respond to the issues of inequity in mathematics, mathematical learning. Equity influences all aspects of this document. In other words, what we really want is not kids to learn math. What we want to make sure is that all kids are equally ignorant of math, equally ignorant. The framework, for example, criticizes the rush to calculus. God forbid you study calculus. Maybe we shouldn't offer calculus in high school at all, or algebra in middle school. There's no such thing as natural gifts or talents. Yeah, right. Tell that to Mozart. Imagine what would happen if you detract mathematics and put everybody in the same class. With the better students would be bored, stuck, unable to advance. Or if the teacher taught them, then the bad students, the students who are not very good at math, would be behind, destroyed, horrible, never being able to catch up. This is not education as adapted to the individual needs of the child. This is education top down. This is Plato's Academy, but not Plato's Academy trying to bring out the best in people. This is Plato's Academy crushing, destroying ability and talent and anybody who might have anything to contribute. As much as I despise Plato, even Plato would be horrified by this kind of garbage, this hatred of humankind, this hatred of ability and skill, probably driven by envy. I wonder how good Joe, how good this professor is at mathematics. I wonder what kind of self-esteem she has. She has the mind of a hater. Alan, thank you. That's very generous. I mean, the real agenda of equitable math is politics. It's the suppression of those with, quote, privilege. It's the destruction of ability. It's to bring about, quote, social justice. All kids are equal. And if they're not, we'll make them equal. It's hard to imagine greater evil than this. She says that the idea of innate talent, it's damaging. Why? Because of equity. What about the kids who don't have the talent? They feel bad. They feel bad. Now, again, think about a mentality that feels that way. I don't know about you guys, but when I was in school, there was always somebody smarter than me. Always. More than one person. Got better grades than me, got the math quicker than me. I never resented them. I didn't hate them. I didn't envy them. I admired them a little bit. I was a little jealous. I wish I could do that. But I didn't resent them. She resents them. According to Bola, Einstein succeeded in physics because he had a positive mindset. I mean, any one of you could be an Einstein if only you had the right attitude. You've got a bad attitude, people. I wonder why Bola is such an idiot, given all that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say that. The concept of gifted children is a myth rooted in white supremacy, they tell us. There is no innate talent. You know what? They're basically evading reality. Whole swaths of reality. Whole segments of reality. Anything that doesn't fit into their agenda. This is Plato's philosophy. What's important is the ideal. Reality, it's messy, it's ugly, it's disgusting. Ignore it. I mean, it's not Plato, because Plato was not this crude. Now, the author, what was his name again? We should get to it. Maxwell Mayer gives an example of this young girl, Zayla Avant-Garde. It's a weird name, having a family name Avant-Garde, but that's her name, Zayla Avant-Garde. In 2021, she was the Scripps National Spelling Bee champion, right? In under 2 years, Zayla went from never having competed in a spelling bee to becoming the national champion. Outside of spelling, Zayla holds multiple Guinness World Records in basketball juggling. Whoa, what's that? Wow. Including the record for most basketball juggled simultaneously, 6. And most bounces in 30 seconds, 307. She has taught herself how to speed read and has finished at 14 years old. Over 1,000 chapter books, more than most Americans will read in a lifetime. Zayla can also divide 5-digit numbers by 2-digit numbers in her head. Try that, people. 42,421 divided by 59. Anybody in your head? She says she hopes to attend Harvard and then work at NASA, and she wants to coach in the NBA. Zayla Avant-Garde is a gifted child. She's an amazing girl. It's stunning. What the modern left wants to do is destroy her before she can go to Harvard. Indeed, deny her a place in Harvard. Now, she happens, just based on the color, based on the picture, to be, I think, black. I don't know what her origin is. Zayla Avant-Garde, who knows? A minority, obviously. So maybe she has a shot at Harvard. God. But we're told gifted children is a myth rooted in white supremacy. But wait a minute. She's not white. She's not male. And yet she's gifted. I mean, the delusional state you have to be in to be that, and this is the key, you have to be such a hater of mankind, such a hater of smart little girls, such a hater of talent and skill and ability to come up with these ideas. So instead of allowing somebody like Zayla to soar, to achieve her full potential in any area she would like, giving him advanced coursework, special opportunities, yes, more resources. That's what we should do. That's what any educational system should do. More resources to the Zaylas of the world. More. There's never enough. These are the people that will change the world, that will cure cancer, that will get us to Mars, that will change the way we live and the way we think. No, you can't think that. Joe, wow, that is terrific. Joe says, I've never been your whale yet, so here you go. A fraction of what I owe you for helping me make myself into who I am, who I will become for the rest of my life. Thank you. Bringing tears to my eyes. Huge thanks. Can't thank Rand, but maybe for 300, you can tell Peikoff thanks for me too. Yes, when I see him, not sure exactly when that'll be, but when I see him, I will send my regards from you, Joe. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That's excellent. So we've achieved our goal. Thank you, guys. We're well over $600. Now, all right, so you can kind of get why these people hate people of ability. They're envious. Hatred of the good for being the good. But that's not the end of it. It's not just the achievement of the best that they want to go after. What they also want to destroy is the achievement of the poorest, the least able, the achievement of the average and below average. They want to make sure that they don't have ambitions, that they don't rise up. I mean, today, I talk about horror. Today, the American public school system is bad. But it's horrific, criminal in the way it treats poor kids. In New Mexico, 40% of high school students failed a class last year. In Houston, it was 42%. In St. Paul, 40%. Of all grades were Fs. In Los Angeles schools, there were so many F grades in fall 2020 that the LAUSD simply ordered teachers to stop giving them out. Don't give failed grades so we won't have any failures. In Baltimore, over 40% of high school students earned a 1.0 GPA or lower. If you go school by school, instead of averaging districts and states, you'll find plenty of schools with 70% of students failing. I mean, this is true horror. This is bad teaching. This is low expectations. This is public education. And this has been common for decades. And these are not stupid kids. These are failing schools. Not stupid kids, failing schools. Failure is ubiquitous in American schools. And it's not that, the school districts are not spending huge amounts of money trying to educate these kids. It's not about money. It's about teachers. It's about curriculum. And it's about setting expectations. I mean, the bottom of our educational system is in utter destruction, utter disarray. But what is the solution of the left? Lower standards even more. Oregon recently passed a law that suspends testing requirements for 3 years, as well as requirements that high school students demonstrate basic reading, writing, and math skills in order to graduate. So let's get rid of the skills. You can graduate high school without knowing how to read, write, or do math. And we don't care. And we encourage this. This is a way to achieve equity. So through 2024, Oregon, which was one of the last states to reopen schools during the pandemic, will grant high school diplomas to students who cannot read at a basic level and send them on their way. They've been billed as temporary, but we know they're not temporary. We know this is going to be institutionalized forever. And indeed, the groups lobbying for this have said that this is inclusive and equitable. So instead of teaching students who are failing, instead of demanding achievement and success from students that are failing. By the way, you can go in any neighborhood in America and you take the same kids that are failing in these public schools and put them in a proper school, like Marva Collins did in Chicago, and they will excel. Some of them will even reach Ivy League schools. A longtime goal of the educational establishment of these rabid leftists who want to destroy education completely is to eliminate all standards, to eliminate all requirements, to eliminate all testing. This is Rousseau. I've talked about this in the past, and more I read about Rousseau, the more and more I'm convinced of how evil this guy was and how influential he turned out to be. In our state of nature, human beings are smart and able and capable and happy and successful. It's civilization. It is schooling. It is education. It is expectations. It is civilization, which destroys human beings. We need to liberate these kids from expectations. Liberate these kids from the need to know anything. Liberate kids from systemic fill in the blank, racism, whatever. So what they're doing is they you know, in Kentucky, for example, you know, instead of teaching arithmetic, they teach, quote, alternative forms of knowing, whatever the hell that is. Kentucky's lowest performing school district, which is over 50% black and Latino, is spending an entire year training math teachers in anti-racism to eliminate what they called curricular violence. No word yet on whether they plan to train the math teachers in, let's say, math, or God forbid, how to teach kids math. Andrew says arguments from envy are weak, but altruism impairs the sense of justice. Yes. Altruism says we got to do something about these kids, and it can't be their fault, and the system's against them, and we need to destroy the system. What's the system? Schools. What's the system? Math. What's the system? Teaching. What's the system? Knowledge. A leading nonprofit in California, endorsed by the nation's largest mathematics education group, says that classrooms are, quote, sites of pain and violence for black and brown students. Now, who do you think this hurts? It hurts black and brown students. They're not expected to learn math. They're not expected to know. They don't perform. They're told that they're stupid, that they're idiots, that they can't do it, that math is for white kids. Whoa. Who do you think suffers from that? Math is a requirement of human survival. And if it's associated only with whiteness, then so is human survival associated only with whiteness. That will destroy whatever self-esteem these kids have. It will destroy their capacity to take care of themselves, destroy their capacity to become productive adults. Then they go on welfare, or they go riot, or whatever they do. Whatever color skin they are, it doesn't matter. because you, your teachers, have not given them the means by which to be able to survive and thrive in this world. Indeed, they've undermined those abilities. They've undermined those gifts. Joe Bola, which we've talked about, advocates teaching children that they have been math traumatized. Math traumatized. I was traumatized by a math teacher, but not in the way Joe Bola talks about. She expected a lot of me, and I didn't live up to the expectations, and that was traumatic. One group in California says the teaching, quote, precision and accuracy to students is a form of white supremacy, and that upholding the idea of right and wrong answers perpetuates objectivity in order to promote equity. Objectivity is a bad thing, obviously. In order to promote equity, Las Vegas has decided that students should not be graded for attendance, participation, homework, or responsibility. Now, who is going to suffer from this? The students. Minority students that they're supposedly trying to help. So these people are haters through and through. It's not that they're sacrificing one group to another. They're sacrificing everybody to everybody. Their purpose is destruction for the sake of destruction and nothing else. Nothing good here. It's hard to contemplate a mentality like that. You know, we selfish objectivists turn out to be the ones who love people, who want to see everybody succeed, who actually believe that black and brown children can succeed just like everybody else if they're given the tools to do so. They don't have the best intentions, Richard. I know you don't mean that, but they don't. Their intentions are hateful. Their ideology is hateful. They are driven by nothing but hate. Hate of life, hate of reality, hate of human beings. As the author of this article writes, with appropriate instruction, expectations, and effort, children at all levels can succeed. The success at the bottom of the distribution necessarily looks quite different than at the top, but it is not an excuse to abandon the bottom completely. Nor, he says, should we delude ourselves into thinking we can achieve equal results that look anything like the top half. But he says, but just such nihilism and delusion are pervasive in the system. Nihilism is exactly right. Nihilism is destruction for the sake of destruction. Now, luckily, parents are rebelling against this. The curriculum that was proposed in California has been rejected because parents rose up against it. While the public education establishment is very motivated, ideological, extreme, and has huge power, more and more people are realizing what they're after, realizing how destructive they are, and speaking up. But the fact is, the system cannot be changed from within, and I'm amazed that Maxwell Meyer agrees with that conclusion. He says, while I encourage people to fight back at all levels and use political power to do it, I remain very skeptical that a hostile takeover of this system can ever be successful at scale. In the long run, and this is important, there's only one option for us. Go around the current system, which is destroying itself, and build something new in its wake. So get in, losers. We're building a new school system. Now, he's not telling us how, but I would argue that Matt Bateman, who I interviewed here, and is part of that effort to build a new school system, private school system, with positive curriculum, at a cost that is affordable to parents. I think we're going to see more and more of that. James Tooley, who I've spoken about on the show several times, is working on that in various countries around the world. We need to abandon public schools. We need to take the kids out, find alternatives, pay for alternatives. We need to rebel, withdraw support, withdraw sanction, vote to lower property taxes, vote to defund the schools, and create alternatives at the same time. It's the only way we can win.
What we need today, what I call the new intellectual, would be any man or woman who is willing to think. Meaning, any man or woman who knows that man's life must be guided by reason, by the intellect, not by feelings, wishes, whims, or mystic revelations. Any man or woman who values his life and who does not want to give in to today's cult of despair, cynicism, and impotence, and does not intend to give up the world to the dark ages and to the rule of the collectivist brute.
All right, before we go on, reminder, please like the show. We've got 163 live listeners right now, 30 likes. That should be at least 100. I figure at least 100 of you actually like the show. Maybe there are like 60 of the Matthews out there who hate it, but at least the people who are liking it, you know, I want to see a thumbs up. There you go. Start liking it. I want to see that go to 100. All it takes is a click of a thing. Whether you're looking at this, and you know, the likes matter. It's not an issue of my ego. It's an issue of the algorithm. The more you like something, the more the algorithm likes it. So, you know, and if you don't like the show, give it a thumbs down. Let's see your actual views being reflected in the likes. But if you like it, don't just sit there. Help get the show promoted. Of course, you should also share, and you can support the show at YourOwnBookShow.com/support, or on Patreon or Subscribestar or Locals. And show your support for the work, for the value hopefully you're receiving from this. And of course, don't forget, if you're not a subscriber, even if you just come here to troll, or even if you're here like Matthew to defend Marx, then you should subscribe, because that way you'll know when to show up. You'll know what shows are on, when they're on. You'll get notified, right? So, yes, like, share, subscribe, support. Like, share, subscribe, support. There you go. Easy. Do one or all of those, please.